welcome. I'm Siddharth Zarabi, live from the International Media Center at the G20 venue here in New Delhi. We are counting down to the formal beginning of the summit, but for now, we're going to bring you one of the more interesting aspects of the finance track as far as the G20 is concerned, and this is to do with cryptocurrencies. Viewers, you might be aware that India has been pushing for a policy architecture at a global level and not just at a country level when it comes to cryptocurrency, and India has also been pushing to make a distinction between the underlying technology and the applications, some of which, including the currency aspect, countries like China have already banned. But this is expected to be one of the key areas of the debate in the run-up to the formal leaders' declaration. And joining me now to offer perspective on what the crypto industry expects as far as this aspect of the G20 is concerned, I am joined by three guests. Kiran, Mysore, Vivekananda, the Chief Public Policy Officer of CoinDCX. Dilip Chenoy, the Chairman of Bharat Web3 Association, is also here with us. And Ashish Singhal, co-founder and the CEO of CoinSwitch. I'm going to start with you, Ashish. In terms of your own expectations as to what is likely, we've already had some amount of clarity on the approach, and one of those key points is that a joint synthesis paper of the FSB and the IMF has also said, don't ban cryptocurrencies because it's going to be counterproductive. You need a robust policy framework. Ashish.
No, definitely, Siddharth. So banning, because it's a peer-to-peer technology where transaction can happen directly between two users and no third party is involved, it's very hard for this technology to be banned, right? And we are seeing that in a lot of areas, this peer-to-peer technology is adding trust into the ecosystem, building infrastructure, which would be, creating the new internet as we talk about Web 3.0. So banning it outright would be a nightmare in implementation. The only way forward, as we have seen with countries like South Korea, Japan, Australia, and many parts of the world, even MiCA regulations in US, in EU, talking about how do we regulate this industry. While we do understand, there are nuances around the negative sides of the technology, but there are a lot of positive sides as well on creating the next infrastructure of the internet. And that's where I think the India's position along with the G20 countries holds very, very critical in making sure that we talk about how do we regulate this asset class or this new technology as a global collaboration and not just talk about, local rules and regulations. Local rules and regulations do apply to every technology, but since this is an internet level innovation, it has to be regulated at a global level itself.
Absolutely. Dilip, I want to come to you, especially on the expectations as far as the roadmap is concerned. The IMF FSB paper, which we here at the Business Today Multiverse have been reporting on for now almost 3 days, seems to lay down a roadmap. Do you see chances of a roadmap being finalized here, even if implementation may take some more time? Dilip.
So our expectation, Siddharth, is that there will be a general acceptance of the FSB IMF synthesis paper. They will encourage both the IMF and FSB and the related bodies. As we speak today, one of the aspects in the synthesis paper, which is the decentralized finance, ISCO has just issued a consultation paper. So they will say, please continue the work that you are doing. And also, I think the next key point where we will see significant movement on this going forward would be the October meeting of the finance ministers and the governors of central banks that is going to be held. So we expect, three bullet points. One, acceptance of the FSB IMF paper. Two, a direction to actually look at and follow the roadmap. And three, the next steps in the October meeting of the finance ministers and central bank governors.
Dilip, a quick follow-up. How significant will this be, the acceptance or adoption, whatever we may call it, and India's sort of feeling vindicated with all the efforts that have been made, not just in the run-up to the G20, but practically for 2 years now?
Yeah, so if you look at it, there's a precedent to looking at getting the G20 to agree on something to prevent regulatory arbitrage. And if you recall, that was the minimum income tax thing, which they actually got again some people to study it. They got a roadmap. They gave a carve out to Ireland and some other countries. So it's actually been successful. And therefore, getting this roadmap, and very key element here in the document is to look at taking this to non-G20 members. But if the African Union were to become the 21st member of the G20 as is expected, then that will leave parts of Latin America and others. And taking this out to the whole world and getting a common framework and quickly addressing the risks and the challenges faced in adopting this technology, but at the same time allowing for the use of this technology to promote economic well-being of citizens around the world, and particularly in India, and also getting products and services which are currently not available in the last mile will be a very significant achievement.
Absolutely. Kiran, I'm coming to you. One of the things we have seen for the crypto industry is, of course, the high valuations are now way off from the peak. But that's the business side, that's the trade side, and that's the consumer side of it. From a policy perspective, how significant do you think these recommendations or statements that are part of this paper are for the future of the crypto sector? Because the last year or so has been very, very rough.
Siddharth, we have come a long way in the last 1 year. The presidency has given an opportunity for India to, speak to other countries and get their point of view before, have a global cooperation around crypto regulation. I think this is going to add a lot of value for all the advocacy work we have done right now, because regulating this industry, which is borderless, definitely needed global cooperation. And I believe this is the first step towards that. And the principles which, all this, reports which has been published makes it very clear that there are 5 or 6 things which are extremely important, which the government should look at, and global cooperation is required, and which I believe in next 1 year or so there will be discussion around. One is basically on the definition part, extremely important to have clarity around a uniform definition on how this asset be considered, whether it will be considered as a security, whether it will be considered as an asset class. That definition is extremely important. A uniform taxation is very important, as we know that India has gone ahead and introduced 1% TDS, which has impacted severely on domestic market. Though the adoption of crypto as an asset class in India in the last 1 year has increased by 12%. Volumes in domestic exchanges have gone down by 80%. Basically, majority of them believe a P2P transaction is the best way to evade taxes. I think it's an opportunity for India to look at, learn through the mistakes which we have done already, and work around a consensus around taxonomy, around uniform taxation, then have guidelines around guidelines around consumer protection, and then some standards around how the operation need to happen, especially when it comes to placing coins on tokens. That's extremely important. I think we are pretty happy with the outcome of this G20 summit, and we hope that this will continue as a priority area for G20.
Okay, before I go to Ashish, viewers, I want to recap some of the important highlights from this paper, because remember, there's so much detail and sometimes some of the key things get overlooked. So I'm going to just quickly run through some of those points that will also be flashing on your screen. I'm going to start obviously with the aspect of what has been said as far as the paper is concerned. It says, and this is very, very significant, no legal tender status to cryptocurrencies. Now, this was more or less expected, but it's there in the paper, so it's important to take note of it. The second point, no holding cryptocurrencies as reserves. Again, important clarification. Third, limit the official use of crypto assets. Then, Financial Action Task Force standards to curb illegal use, avoid high deficits to maintain fiscal sovereignty, adopt a crypto asset reporting framework, proper recovery resolution plans for stable coins. There's some more commentary, and before I go to Ashish, I'm going to take those points as well. As far as the macroeconomic risks are concerned, the paper, the synthesis paper of the IMF and the FSB, the Financial Stability Board and the International Monetary Fund, says the crypto threatens effectiveness of monetary policy. Now, this is very, very important, and that's why, viewers, we've seen the kind of central banking response globally to this. It destabilizes domestic prices, it leads to volatile capital flows, it affects tax revenue collection and leads to tax avoidance. It also says, and I'll run through these quickly, threat to global financial stability, helps and assists money laundering, threat to financial market integrity and potential for regulatory gaps. Now, why was this recap necessary? Because Ashish, I want to turn the conversation to the future of the crypto industry as we know it in India. Hundreds and thousands of users experience crypto. Many of them have now sort of stopped dabbling in it. For those people, for the average person, what is the net result of all the policy discussion that is happening and will happen likely to be in the future? Is there a hope for their crypto assets, their coins, or should they be prepared for a new avatar?
Sure. So I think we have to first look at where we are coming from, right? The conversation in 2020 in India was more about banning cryptocurrencies, which we now, agree at a consensus with G20 as well that banning is out of the question. Regulation is the only logical step forward. And like we have always discussed that crypto as a currency may not hold future, right? Because CBDC probably is the right direction to go when it comes to crypto or the technology behind crypto, which is blockchain, used as a currency, but not cryptocurrency in itself, right? And cryptos are actually virtual digital assets, which talks about that, new innovations that are happening in the space are represented by value through these assets. And most of the Indians who are investing in the space are investing as an investment, as a security or as an asset class, which is in the making, albeit a bit risky asset class, but a global asset class in the making, right? So how we take it for our users is, that a lot of uncertainty that always remained around crypto has reduced a bit. Over the last 1 year, you would see a lot of rules and regulations coming under crypto ecosystem in India. Now crypto is under PMLA, which makes sure that all the negative activities which were associated with crypto earlier would have harder time to exist. Now, being under FIU, the reporting being exchanges as reporting entities would be reporting all such transactions, suspicious transactions to FIU, which makes it very hard for any wrong actor to do any wrong activity in this space, right? So this is making the space more and more legitimate. Over time, as Kiran mentioned, the excessive taxation and other issues need to be addressed within the country for it to be able to be viable for its users. I see this as a very, very positive steps coming from a ban in 2020 to where we are today, where we are talking about global regulations, where we are talking about recognizing the innovation that lies with crypto, blockchain, and the new internet in the making. It is a very positive step. yet a long way to go from here. And for the users, it is a step in the right direction, and hopefully more such steps would be taken to actually implement these policies on ground and actually, see the potential of what this technology has to hold and offer. And hopefully, as this potential get unlocked, this value get passed to all these users who have put their hard-earned money into this ecosystem and are standing by it.
Dilip, one part is, of course, what the millions of users have experienced as far as crypto is concerned and all the volatile trading that happened around it. But the underlying technology, in all of this, do you see any ray of light for the early and fast adoption of the underlying blockchain technology architecture, and anything that you particularly see happening in India as far as this is concerned?
So Siddharth, just to put it in perspective, emerging companies, the other two companies represented on this panel are both unicorns. Okay, so we have over 900 plus companies actually starting up in this space, and the Web3 ecosystem, as we call it, the underlying technology under this, India has the potential to be a leader. Now, the underlying technology is already being used in many, many states for various types of applications. And it doesn't depend on the type of, party which is in power in the state in India, whether it is, launching of FIRs using blockchain in Firozabad, caste certificates in Gadchiroli in Maharashtra, financing systems and tokenization of real assets in Telangana, or even the tokenization of land records and land holdings in Newtown in West Bengal. So I've given you, 4 examples from 4 different parts of the country, and there are many, many more examples that are actually being put into use here. And this is just, we're not even scratched the surface. If some of our ministries use this technology well, then they could actually they could actually generate revenue and reduce the dependence on the central budget as we go forward. So it has great potential. Many Indian companies are working in this area and giving solutions. Many of them are global leaders, and I think this is the great opportunity for India going forward. And some of the things that you actually put out as concerns, not being used as a currency, I think India will be very clear on that. Banks should not invest in them. The IMF talks about the banks failing in the US. I think Indian banks are not doing it. Declaration of virtual digital assets is actually law in the country. So a lot of the stuff that has been recommended, as both Ashish and Kiran talked about, has been implemented in India. But we have the opportunity to change not only how they're seen in the world, but change the lives of the 1.4 billion people in India.
Dilip, one more point. Would it be fair to say that given the IMF FSB paper, the clouds of uncertainty, if at all there were any, with regard to a sort of complete ban, have now evaporated there? Yes, China has banned among a few other countries, but is that actually the biggest message out of this paper, that globally, and at least from these two institutions, a complete ban has now been ruled out? Is that the right way to look at it?
So the papers advocating the non-imposition of ban and looking at regulation is a very good interpretation. But I think the biggest endorsement will come when the G20 leaders agree to a paragraph on accepting the recommendations of the IMF FSB paper and then directing them to actually go ahead and do that. That will be a much, much greater kind of endorsement of the non-possibility of a ban. I think this is step 1.
Okay, Kiran, that very same question to you. The adoption of these recommendations and a statement of intent, would that be like the best bit of news that the crypto sector has seen in the past several quarters?
Absolutely, right? Like, in the last 1 year, you know, we have seen government after G20 working towards, understanding our sector, and it would be a fantastic outcome, if there is a Delhi declaration where these recommendations are considered, and we will be more than happy, along with Bharat Web3 Association, to work with the government and create a sustainable, a progressive regulation. We are willing to work with them and making sure that the value of crypto lays in India, and it's not siphoned out, using P2P technology.
That's a good point. Ashish, I'm coming to the end of our chat, but before that, uh, please explain. And in the past, you have done that quite simply, and I recall our earlier interactions. A lot of people come up and say, "Ab crypto ka kare kya?" Forget the valuation bit and whether it's investment has suffered and all of that, but a lot of uh, people generally now simply ask, crypto का करे क्या, इतना टैक्स लग गया है, कुछ नहीं हो रहा है. What would you tell to such people today?
Sure. So I think, Siddharth, your question is much more, deeper. So I will answer for the most people how they are invested into crypto, right? Most people are invested into crypto as an asset class, like you invest in stocks or say mutual funds, although crypto is much riskier as we all know it. So I think first step for these users is to recognize how much risk in their portfolio, risk and reward that they have to take. When you're younger, you can take higher risk, but when you're older, you have more responsibilities. Your portfolio need to be much more diversified. So what we have told always our users is to make sure that your risk and reward ratio is matching in your portfolio. Don't put all your eggs into one basket, which is crypto. Crypto should not be more than 5 to 6% of your portfolio. Even though this is a risky asset class, but as the adoption grows, as new technologies or new solutions comes all across the world, the idea is that the Web 3.0 would be built on blockchain and this ecosystem. So do your research, understand the nuances behind different cryptos. There are hundreds of cryptos that exist. What is the use case they are solving? Are those use cases would be relevant for the future? What is the potential that holds in that crypto? And based on that information, only then you invest in the crypto technology, and make sure that you are not overexposed to crypto. Your portfolio is diversified, and making sure that it is built for the future, having a part of risk and a part of reward, but making sure that you are not putting all the eggs in single basket, right? So that's what my advice would be to each and every one of our users, that although taxation might be higher today, although the industry might be going through a bear cycle, but we have been here before. There have been 4 big bear cycles in the crypto market. Through the innovation, through the learnings, and through the development, we have always evolved to go to the next level, and this market has always grown. It has gone from 10,000 users in early 2021 to about a billion users today, right? So, or close to a billion users, 100 million plus users today. So hopefully in the next cycle, we'll be touching a billion lives through the crypto and the blockchain technology. As long as all the countries come together, create the right regulations, and make sure that we use this technology for the good, right? So we definitely see a lot of potential in crypto, but as users need to be informed and put their investment into multiple, diversified assets, including crypto, to make sure that they are ready for the growth in their portfolio.
Okay, that's a good point to end this conversation at. Words and sound words of advice as far as crypto is concerned, because crypto is in the buzz again, viewers, and this is on account of this joint paper which seems to provide a new roadmap. But we'll have to wait for the G20 deliberations to conclude and the leaders' declaration to come out of it, and hopefully some statement of intent as far as the future roadmap is concerned for the crypto sector. Many unicorns, and a couple of them on the show here with us all across India, and an underlying technology that will definitely play a role in the years ahead to solve so many problems that our country has and provide a new impetus to economic growth. I'm going to thank all my guests for their time and you, the viewer. With that, it's a wrap on this special crypto episode from the G20 venue. We'll be back with more. Until then, goodbye.